Hey, folks, welcome to a very special episode of the Distortion Den. I'm Deke, and with me tonight is singer, songwriter, vocalist, bassist, producer, and one of the finest gentlemen ever to walk the face of the planet called Earth, one and only Andy Curran. Welcome back, Andy.
Hey, buddy, how are you? I'm Andy. He's Deke. There he is. No, that way. There he is. He's over there. There
Yeah,
he is.
yeah. Well,
No, I'm good, bud. Thank you for asking. I hope the same for you.
I'm doing well, and thanks so much for taking a bit of time out of your busy schedule.
My
Because
pleasure.
um, as anyone who follows the socials know that Andy has been one busy fellow lately. And let's just start off with this, Andy. And before we get too far in the conversation, I have to thank Chip, your PR guy from Chipster. He's always right on with the emails when we try to set stuff up. And I wanted to throw him down special props because he sent me this CD that you
Ooh, yes.
are a part of. So give us the story on you producing Monster from Bombs and Battle Scars by Sven.
Yeah, well, I listen. Let's go back to Chip because I want to give him a shout out, and he's
Sure.
just been an awesome guy and just a super strong ally and a real great supporter of anything that I've been working on and Coney Hatch as well. So I don't know if Chip will ever see this, but he's the best buddy, and thank you for everything that you've been doing for me and for Coney Hatch and Envy of None all the way through. But that Svengali question that you asked, um, you know, when I had this solo band together, when we were supporting what you and I both called the No Tattoos record, my debut record, but I call it the same thing. Deke, you said you called it the No Tattoos record, and just seems like a good tag, and it's stuck, right? But
Yeah.
we did probably about 18 months of touring off that record, and there was a bunch of great Canadian acts that I opened for, including Rush on the World of Bones tour. Did some dates with Haywire, um, Glass Tiger, Rick Emmett. We did a long tour with Rick Emmett when Rick was doing his solo tours. I think we might have even played a few dates with maybe Kim Mitchell. So that the Svengali guys played a bunch of shows with us, and I really hit it off with them. I really like those guys. I think they're the real deal. Um, when you see when you hear a band's record and then you go see them live and you actually like them better live, I always think that that's a great indicator of how strong the band is. And I always felt this Svengali, not that their records lacked anything, but I just thought they were always a great live band. So I've kept in touch with the guys over the years. Um, when when Dee was going through his challenges with cancer, they did a fundraiser for him, and I got up and played with those guys back then, and I think we did a rousing version of Monkey Bars, if Svengali style, if I remember, with Simon Brierly came up. So I've just stayed in touch with them, and through just sort of social media and emailing and stuff, they reached out to me and asked if I would be interested in working with them, and they had a bunch of new songs, and I was honored, and I said absolutely. So we spent some time working together in Hamilton, and I just got in there really and dug deep with the guys and kind of fine tune a couple of the arrangements on the songs, and they were very complimentary and said that they really like some of maybe the commercial aspects of some of my songwriting, and they felt that they could use a little bit of shot in the arm. So with Monster, they very much wanted to see if they could scratch that itch and maybe make it a little bit more accessible sounding. So I put in my 2 cents. And then with One Gun, I told the boys, I think what you have is pretty ferocious. Let's just capture that in the studio. So I had a great time with them in the studio. And we're talking about doing some more work together. But we played a show with them last summer at the Burlington Sound of Music. It was Lee Aaron, Coney Hatch, Svengali, and I'm having a brain fart, but there was a great guitar player out of Quebec, Montreal, Quebec. He sounds like Eddie Van Halen. I wish I could read. It starts with an R. His manager is going to kill me for not remembering, but the guy plays this guy plays amazing. So it was a really cool bill. Got to hang out with the boys. They presented me with a gold record for one of their records, and I just love the guys. I consider them, my brothers from another mother, but they're from the other side of the tracks. They're from Hamilton, St. Catharines, so maybe brothers from a different, rougher mother.
Yeah, there we go. Well, that's
Yeah.
great. Yeah, it's a really great album. I mean, Svengeli, they're a top-notch Canadian act. So get out there and support them. And
Yeah, I think they've got some dates coming up, and like I said, they're an awesome live band. So if you don't know about Svengeli or you haven't seen them, you should check them out. They're playing better than ever.
awesome. So Andy, last time I spoke to you, where are we at with the Del Boys?
Oh, look at you! You got a good memory there, man. We need to get Danko Jones on the phone and ask him what the heck's going on. Danko and myself and Ray Coburn, Ray Coburn was the original keyboard player for Honeymoon Suite, but Ray's currently playing in Kim Mitchell's band and played with Roger from Supertramp. We loosely spoke about putting together a band called the Del Boys because all of us went to an all boys school in Toronto called De La Salle, and all the other schools called us the Del Boys. And I was passing around some song ideas for a good two, maybe even 3 years. And I would send them to Danko and say, "Hey, what are we going to do with this, man?" And he's like, "Yeah, this is really cool. I'm going to get working on it." And then I see that he's out playing the world and taking over Germany and get that. Like, that dude is one busy dude. So I have to be respectful that he has his own band and he's got his own career. I don't think the Del Boys has got to the place where it's a priority for him. And for me, with Coney and Envy of None in this project, I've certainly got a lot on my table. So I hope. Listen, I think that guy's awesome, and I love playing with Ray. He's super musical, and we spoke about the concept of the band was like, what would Deep Purple sound like if it was starting today? Because Ray was talking about playing distorted B3 keyboards and very much keeping it in that Machine Head type of sounding record. And then Danko liked that idea, but he said, that Van Halen was one of his favorite bands, and he'd like to, if Deep Purple and Van Halen had a car crash, that maybe would be the Del Boys. So I don't know. Never say never. We'll see what happens. You got to get Danko on the show and go, "Hey, dude, Curran's sitting by the phone, and let's see, did Danko call? No, he didn't."
That's funny. And speaking of Envy at None, I saw about a month or so ago, you made the cover of, well, not cover, but you made the front page of the TMZ of heavy metal, and that's Blabbermouth with an interview, which was pretty impressive. I mean, you get on Blabbermouth, I mean, that's saying something. And you, of course, I read the interview, and at that time you said you were 6 or 7 songs into the second Envy at None album. How's that progressing?
Well, first I'll tell you that my dearly departed dad told me that I had a big mouth and that I should put it to good use, and so I did, and I started a rock band. So maybe it's kind of appropriate that Blabbermouth wanted to hear from this Blabbermouth, but it's progressing along really well. Thank you for asking. We just laid down some more drum tracks on a couple new songs, and if everything goes as planned, Maya Wynn will be flying into Toronto within the next 2 to 3 weeks to add some more vocals on it. And if everything goes as planned, our goal is to have a record out by the end of the year, a second record with Envy. We're having a blast doing it. I'd say we're carving a little bit of some new territory, but it is still very much trippy. A lot of the things that I like that were a departure for Alex and myself specifically, we've continued to scratch that itch. So it's not a Coney record. It's not an Andy record. It's not an Alex record. It's not a Rush record. This is full on Envy of None Chapter 2.
Okay, well, you answered my question because I had in my notes here, is it getting heavy question mark or / getting trippy question mark? So
trippy 100%. It's getting even trippier. But it's funny that you mentioned heavy, because I ran into Maya in Los Angeles. I went down there about a month ago for a big trade show called the NAMM show, which is where all the musical instrument manufacturers get to show off their wares. And I ended up connecting with Maya down at the show, and I had sent her some new ideas. And I said, "So what do you think of those new ideas?" And she's like, "Can you send me heavier stuff? I want some heavy stuff." I go, she
Soft.
goes, "I want heavy and evil." And I said, "Well, you came to the right place." But when you compare sort of heavy Envy of None, you maybe think about the song Enemy or Dog's Life.
Like,
Those are pretty sort of dark sounding songs. Those aren't what I would call nickels and dimes, or Whiskey and the Devil, which is a little bit more traditional, straight up the middle, four on the floor rock and roll. But so I said, "No problem, man. You came to the right place." And I sent her some pretty dark sounding things for her to try to come up with some stuff around it. But there will be some dark and trippy stuff on this record for sure. We'll continue to scratch those itches.
cool, something to look forward to. So, Andy, about 3-4 months ago, I was in Sudbury with a couple of friends of mine, and they took me to the local record shops and used shops and whatnot. And Kevin and Sarah, hey, thanks for watching. Came across this little gem,
Ooh, okay.
Drug Plan, but I love the packaging because we know the story about Andy, if everybody can see it there, with his Hoffner.
Don't have my Hofner Beetle bass here. I normally change it up a little bit, but Deke, if I could just sort of do a side chat about Drug Plan. And
Sure.
a lot of my buddies and some of the musicians I know will ask me, "Andy, what's the favorite record you've ever worked on?" And with all due respect to Envy of None, like, I'm having such a blast with those guys and girls, and I am so proud of that material. But that Drug Plan record, if you can find a version of it that's also called Leisureworld, that we changed the name of the band to Leisureworld because we signed a small deal, and the record company said, "You can't call the band Drug Plan." And I said, "Well, why not?" And they said, "Well, you're supporting drugs." And I said, "No, I'm not. Everybody has a drug plan. I have a drug plan. You have a drug plan. Do you have medication? Do you go to the doctor's office?" And they were like, "No, no, it's." And I'm, of course, going back to late '90s, early 2000s, and they were 100% dead against using Drug Plan as the name of the band. So Simon Brierly, who has the patience but that long, said, "Fine, I've got a new name for the band, and it's called Leisureworld." And I said, "Okay, great." And then we changed our name to Leisureworld. I put that record out again, and changed up the graphics a little bit, and then added a few more songs to it. I have to tell you, out of any record that I have written, produced, or been involved with, that is my favorite all-time record. I have such a strong connection with it, and I'm so proud of the work that Vic Florencia and I did on the production end of things, and working with Simon and Randy Cook and Virginia Story. And some friends of mine tell me that they put that record on today and it still sounds like it's relatively current, and I think that's a great compliment, that it stood the test of time. And that's why I really spent quite a lot of time last year getting those two albums up on all of the DSPs. So if you can't find a copy of Drug Plan or Leisureworld, you can go on Spotify and Apple and Amazon, and you can find those records, plus some stuff on there, like some tracks like Ted Nugent shot the Ballad of Ted, all about Ted Nugent shooting my dog. And there's a cover of Yummy 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 on there, and Hello Dolly, a cover of Hello Dolly's up there. But I just had to pound my own chest there for 1 second and tell you how much that record means to me. Because if I was on my deathbed and somebody said to me, "Curran, what's your favorite album?" I would be like, "Drug Plan," and then just fall over and die.
They say, well, you had a drug plan.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
there it is, folks. So if anybody's wondering, I am not parting with my copy. So
And I've got a few kicking around, and we'll probably end up selling them online on the merch store. But the quick fix is just to go up and search a song "I'm Dead," Drug Plan or Leisureworld, and you'll find it up there. But had such a great time making that record. Certainly, a close second would be the Envy of None stuff.
That's awesome. And before I forget, Andy, at the end, as we wrap things up, I'm gonna throw down my top 12 Andy Curran songs of all time.
Nice. Okay, I'm gonna wait.
There's a twist to it.
Okay,
I'm gonna wait for the twist.
Looking forward to hearing that, Deke.
Well, I hope you don't block me after you live. Anyways, now let's talk about this fantastic release. And Andy, I have to tell you, the first thing that I noticed on here, on the track listing, was there was no Hey Operator, which goes to show you how deep the Coney catalog of rock is.
So, Deke, good. It's good on you for recognizing that, and that was a complete oversight the night of. Okay, so normally there are 3 songs on the Coney Hatch set list that religiously we play, and that's Devil's Deck, Monkey Bars, and Hey Operator. There hasn't been a show other than that show in Germany in decades that we have not played those 3 songs. And I believe, and maybe we would have to get Carl Dixon to confirm this. I believe Hey Operator was on the set list, and maybe our set was running overtime, or maybe Carl just forgot to mention it, and we were all joking, later on that night after the gig, going, "Hey, we actually didn't play Hey Operator tonight." So it was like, what the heck, like full on seniors moment, going, "Whoops!" One of our most popular songs he forgot to play, but it wasn't intentional, and yeah, it was a weird one, dude. We like that was our first time ever playing in Germany. Super great vibe. Anybody that's heard the record, you can hear that there's almost like a soccer crowd vibe to what was happening that night. They were chanting along. We played a lot of Friction material that night because the Germans and the folks in the UK really liked those 2 records, so we thought we'd lean on those a little bit, and it gave us an opportunity to keep things going with Sean Kelly and go in and record a couple new tracks. So that's why it's got 2 what we just call bonus studio tracks on there.
And I like the fact that you did put the 2 bonus studio tracks right at the beginning, so they're not forgotten at the end. You kind of got to listen to them, and they're very, very good. And I love the dynamic of like Carl's "It's About a Girl," which is like basically a hard rock pop ditty, and then you take things on your song. Heaven's on the Other Side, a little to the seedier side of town. And that's what I always loved about the Coney dynamic. You had Andy with the tunes, and you had Carl with a little bit more the melodic hard rock. And I had Sean on the Den a couple of months ago, talking about his book. And of course, we talked about this record, and he throws down I told him, we really did some fantastic guitaring on your song. Like that solo, he plays a solo, then you guys go into the verse or chorus or whatever, and then he goes back into another solo. Like he really lifted off.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. Sean played some great stuff, and he and I have really hit it off. I would consider him a very close friend, and we always talk about Sean being the new guy in Coney, but he's been around for about 10 years now. So the new guy's a decade old, right? But putting those 2 studio tracks was intentional to come out with a message that we're still around, we're still writing new material. But as you and I know, like when I go to see some of my favorite bands, whether it be like Leonard Skinner or Cheap Trick or Steve Miller, not super interested in hearing a lot of their new material. Cheap Trick I've followed religiously, so I don't mind sitting through that stuff. But let's face it, the majority of fans want to hear your older material. So we stocked up on that for Postcard from Germany and made sure that we got a lot of the back catalog in there. But there's only one thing better than having one great guitar solo, and that's having two great guitar solos. So the arrangement of Heavens on the Other Side is a bit different, because you're absolutely right. Halfway in between Sean's guitar solo, we inserted another little, what I'd call like a middle eighth section, and put some vocals in there. But I jokingly said to the boys, it's about time we write another song about the devil. We haven't written about the devil since what? The first album had like Devil's Deck, and then we had Fallen Angel on the second record.
Yeah.
I don't know what we did on Friction that was devil related. Maybe we skipped out the devil on that one, but we were overdue. We were overdue for a good devil song.
And that's the thing I really like, and I told Sean this about the Germany live album, is I like how you guys sequenced it, where you open with a couple of songs from the Coney debut, and you play everything in between, and then you end with Devil's Deck and Monkey Bars at the end. And then in the middle, you have a 5-pack of Friction tunes. Now, Andy, I have to ask you this. I know one of the first times we talked to you, or I spoke to you, we talked about what Coney was going through back at that time when Friction came out in '85, and not realizing that there was actual friction and politics, and you only got the wrong side of town vocal on the record, and you said it was your band, you started, like, what's going on here? Back when you were playing that album Friction, now I know you're probably real cool with it now, but when you were touring around on that Friction album and those Friction songs you were playing on stage, was there a little piece of you going
oh yeah, not a little piece, there was a big piece, and going back to when that decision came down, and I think, and I'm only going to assume that it was sort of the record company calling Max Norman or the management company going, hey, this could be Coney Hatch's last shot, last up at bat. What do we think is the reason why the band hasn't been that successful? And a lot of people did not like the fact that we had two different singers. So I'm sure there was a backroom conversation going, let's streamline the sound. Carl could sing a phone book and sound great doing it. So let's have him do it. But I remember Max Norman kind of giving me what I like to call a shit sandwich, and where they compliment you going in, they give you the shit in the middle, and then they compliment you going out. And I remember him saying, dude, there's not a lot of singers who have your attitude. If I could bottle up your attitude and give it to a couple other singers, they could really use a little bit of what your mojo. But let's face it, Carl's an amazing singer, and the shit in between is like, we're going to go full Carl Dixon on this record. And then the other half of it was, you shouldn't worry about it because you wrote pretty much 3/4 of the material. So what a lot of people probably don't know is that whether it was She's Gone or Champion or, We're Coming to Get You, or, there's quite a few tracks on Friction that I was involved in the songwriting on. Many of them I had full written lyrics for, Burning Love. I was supposed to sing that one and just kind of handed it off. So there was part of me on stage when I was gritting my teeth going, just suck it up, Curran, because you're a co-writer on the songs anyway, and let's see if this actually, if the chapter actually works out. But it didn't. There was a ton of friction. It ended up the band dynamics were not great after that album, and getting dropped by Mercury halfway through our tour with Crocus and Accept was a bitter pill to swallow. So it was the beginning of the end, Deke, and I try not to think about that too much. There's been a lot of water under the bridge with the Hatch, and we're all good buddies now. But it was an extremely difficult chapter making that record. It was a very tough pill to swallow when somebody tells you, hey, by the way, dude, you're taking a back seat. So just another, I got a lot of scars on my body from hockey pucks hitting me. And there's a few rock and roll scars on me too. And that was one of them.
Well, of course, I'd have to be that guy that would have to go there back to '85, right? But
yeah.
hey,
that's okay.
this is something I wanted to ask you. And
Yeah.
but like you said on postcard, you know, you like the guitar guys, but you're a bit of a puck hog.
Bass, baby. Give me some bass. I got to puck hog some bass and drums. There's a lot of bass on the, you know, I think about This Ain't Love, right? You know, and that was the first foray into Max Norman going, hey, let's double your bass guitar with the keyboard bass, you know? And I was like, ooh, more bass. Let's have more bass.
That's awesome. So
Yeah.
now at that time, Coney dissolves and you kind of move on to doing your thing. And I know previous time I spoke to you, you told us about when you auditioned for Doro and didn't get the gig because you were too tall. So which leads us to 1990, and as you can see, somebody graffitied my copy.
Yeah, you should send that back. Somebody scribbled all over the front there, bud.
So take us up to the time of like these songs, these 10 songs on here. Were any of them starting to be written? Were any written during your time in Coney? Like by
None of them.
none of them.
None of them. None of them. But the touch point with Coney is that I went right back to the original guitar player, one of my best friends who I went to high school with, and sadly I've lost touch with him. And if anybody out there can help connect me with Tim Broyd, Tim's an amazing Toronto guitar player. We kind of lost touch. I've got a few friends trying to reach out to him, but Tim was the original guitar player in Coney Hatch. He didn't last very long. You know, there was different iterations of Coney before we released our record, but I had such a strong connection with Tim that after Coney broke up after Friction, I called him up and asked him if he wanted to do some writing. And he was keen on it. I can't remember, like Tim had been in and out of a few different bands, and he'd scratched the itch and playing in a few punk bands. But we went into the studio and started writing. We wrote Teenage Heartthrob. We wrote I Got This Feeling together. I'm trying to think what else we might have. There's some early ones in there. Some of the stuff that was on the demos that you got when you ordered the record that are not a part of the record, like Freight Train, Location. That was a song about Tim and I being couriers downtown.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah. So they would say we each had our numbers, you know, and I'm trying to make ends meet. I'm in between bands going, what the hell do I do now? Oh, I've got a car. I'll be a courier. Put a ball cap on and deliver packages all day and then rock by night. So you know, I'm talking about a song that isn't on that record, but if you ordered the record through Sing Marketplace, you were immediately given some digital tracks. So there's a track called Location that didn't make the record, and they would say my number, I believe, was 506. 506, what's your location? Tim had another number, 809. 809, what's your location? And I was like, dude, I'm sick and tired of these guys asking us what our location is. Location, what's your location? So we ended up writing a song about it. But going back to your question about were the songs written during Coney, or no, it was a clean reset, brand new start, brand new bunch of guys. So went into a studio in Scarborough. I like to call it Scarberia, in the east end of Toronto. And a guy by the name of Bill Petrie had a cool little project studio called Studio B. And went in there with Tim and a few other friends. Paul Marangoni was programming some drums, and I did like a 3 or 4 song demo tape, if I recall. And it would have had Whiskey and the Devil on it. It would have had Let Go, Teenage Heartthrob, and maybe I Got This Feeling. And so I just recorded those 4 songs and just thought, shit, I know a bunch of people. I'll go out and pass the tape around. And the first guy that I sent it to was the original A&R guy at Anthem Records. His name was Tom Barry. And Tom Barry had a new label that he had formed with Kim Mitchell called Alert Records. And I sent it to him. And he immediately called me back and said, dude, I love these songs, man. Like, let's go. I'm in. And let's do a full record. And I was like, shit, that was easy. That was the first guy I played it for. I think it was just lightning strikes and timing. And I have to thank Tom Barry right up until this day for everything that guy did for me, and Lisa Zabitnu and all the folks at Alert Records. Without them, I wouldn't have ever been able to release that record or get nominated for 2 Juno Awards or be on tour and everything. And even Tom letting me re-release this record was a huge thing because he owns the masters. I still have my songwriting, but I had to go to Tom afterwards and say, Tom, it's been 30 plus years, and I'm super proud of this record. Would you give me the rights to let me go and re-release this? And he did. So
Nice.
I promised him that I'd be taking him out for lunch. So Tom, if you're ever watching this, pick a really good restaurant, and I'm gonna buy you a really great meal. But I can't say enough about Tom Barry and him letting me work on this project again. And I told you about some of the confusion that I think around this record, because the artwork really inspired me to want to call the re-release Whiskey and the Devil. And Whiskey and the Devil, I believe, is, if I recall, is the closing track on the album. But that artwork, so when, No Tattoos, let's talk about No Tattoos, because it's a very tongue-in-cheek song. And my mom used to tell me that, it was the devil's ink, and, there's a little bit of truth in some of the lyrics there. And my dad told me if ever I got a tattoo that he'd tear it off my arm with his own hands and stuff. So for the longest time, I was just scared shitless about getting a tattoo. But I eventually got one, and I hid it, and it was on the corner of my hip. And I took the Rose Tattoo logo, which is the rose and the snake. I removed Rose Tattoo, and I put 10 years of rock and roll, 1980 to 1990, and it's still there. But the guy that did the tattoo for me, his name is Bill Baker, and Bill at the time had a tattoo shop called Tatarama. And I said, Bill, would you design a T-shirt for me? I'm going out on tour. And he said, yeah, what are you thinking? And I said, I want something old school, man. I want like Whiskey and the Devil, like, just take that title and just make me a T-shirt, right? So that was the design that he did, and that was originally on a T-shirt, and which the Deeks got. And I just thought it was such a strong image. And I said to Tom, he said, well, what are you going to, are you going to keep the original artwork, which my brother Mike did and won an award for. He still is a very talented graphic artist. And Mike took a photo of me in the early days of Photoshop with that giant hair and the strings and everything. So just for clarity, I want to tell everybody that this record is really this record.
Yep.
With some extra ones on it. So I went back and I remixed some stuff with Vic Florencia, a very good Juno Award-winning buddy of mine, and included a live show from out on the road, because we had never released a live record. And people told me that they always thought that the solo band was, one of the best combinations of musicians that I'd put together in a long time. So I went back in my archives and found some cassettes. This is how far back it is. Somebody had given me cassettes that they had recorded live shows. And that particular one that makes up side, basically C and D of the Whiskey and the Devil record is all live. And it's got Glenn Milchin, Mike Burkowski, Simon Brierly, and myself. And, I think it's a great snapshot of that time in that band. I got a friend of mine, Harry Hess, a really amazing mastering engineer. And if anybody recognizes his name, he's the lead singer of Harem Scarum, but he's a super talented mixer engineer. And I brought Harry, I phoned him up and I said, dude, would you be able to work your magic? I'm going to get you cassettes, and I want you to help me pull together a record and master it for vinyl. So Harry went in and, did his best with the audio quality, but it's essentially a live board mix from when I think that band was probably in its stride. I doubt I can sing like that anymore, because I was singing my what off, and Harry called me and he was like, dude, man, you're like on fire on that recording. And one of the things that I wanted to do, we had so much fun doing cover songs in that band. We were constantly, like, we did a Beatles She's So Heavy, and we did Deep Purple Highway Star, but that mashup of Cisco Kid and Low Rider, War are one of my all-time favorite bands. I love the bass player in that band. So I thought, well, we should do like a heavy rock version of Cisco Kid, and halfway through it go into Lowrider, or vice versa. So one of the reasons I wanted to put that live stuff out was because a bunch of my buds was like, when are you going to re-record Cisco Kid and Lowrider? And I was like, I'm not. I've got a version of it. It's on the live record.
Yeah,
So yeah,
it's yeah, it is a killer live band. And you know what? To my ears, I would have never known that live show came off cassette tapes. I would have never, if you didn't say that, I would have never thought that in a million years, because you don't hear any hiss or anything. Like it's clear. I can tell everybody that right now.
yeah.
And as you mentioned, what a stellar kick-ass band you had. I mean, Andy, I love the Coney. I love Coney, but that band you had, those guys came out swinging as well. And
Yeah,
I think,
quite proud of that band, and I think you know me by now. We've done a bunch of interviews together, Deke. I don't often flex my muscle, but that might have been one of the best live bands I've ever put together in my life, and those musicians are all amazing. I love them all, and you're right. We were swinging well above our weight, and we were going out playing in front of, like, that was the band that went on tour in front of Rush, and we were winning audiences over with that lineup. And we had a lot of radio play. We had, we were all over Much Music with License to Love and No Tattoos and Let Go. We had like 3 top 10 radio hits, and and the love that I was getting from Dan Gallagher and the boys at Much Music just kind of raised the visibility up there, that I think all fueled the Juno Awards on it. But that, that recording, I vividly remember a mobile recording truck outside the venue. So it was recorded professionally, but I never ever got finished multi-track tapes from it. I was only ever handed a cassette going, "There's your show from tonight, Curran," and I kept that cassette, and then gave it to Harry and asked him if he could transfer off of a cassette into his mastering program to see if he could up the quality for it. So yeah, he worked magic with it. And if you do some reading, it's interesting. If you want to go down the rabbit hole, even some of the Beatles stuff that's coming out right now was taken off of cassettes, and the guys at Abbey Road were taking audio from there and enhancing it. So I don't think I'm the first guy ever to peel audio off of a cassette and try to make it into a finished record. But as I said, Deke, I think the live component of the Whiskey and the Devil stuff, A, there's no live stuff of that band out anywhere, and B, it's a magnificent snapshot of the energy and the enthusiasm in that time, and in the early 90s of that lineup.
it's it's a killer live show. I can totally attest that. I've listened to it about a gajillion times, because I mean, you guys seriously kicked ass. I know that term's used so many times, but it seriously is. But before, Andy, we have to talk about quickly Sing Market. And I had to write down the stuff because I would never memorize all this. But last March, when you dropped that initial email saying, doing the reissue, you go on Sing. Everybody wants a pre-order now, but the thing I really liked about Sing is when you pre-ordered, right then and there, you got everything. And what I mean by everything is, with Andy's record, you got the remix and the remaster of the No Tattoos album, or Whiskey and the Devil. See there, I did it already.
Yeah, that's all right.
You got the bonus tracks, you got demos, you got handwritten lyrics, you got tracking sheets, you got pictures from the era. You got the 20-minute video of the soon-to-be, I hope to hear it, Looking for Love video. You got the live tracks. All I got to say is I'm glad you were a pack rat back then, because I really did a deep dive into all your handwritten lyrics. Like the track listing here, I got to ask you right now before I you have on the track listing from June 1st, 1989, Nickels and Dimes and Teenage Heartthrob, Kim Mitchell producing.
Yep.
Now, in the final album...
Good eye. Okay, go ahead.
when the final album came out, Kim Mitchell wasn't listed as producer. So what kind of happened there?
Yeah. Well, let me address two things that you said there. We'll get to the Kim Mitchell one second, but firstly, the guys at Sing Marketplace, I absolutely love what they're doing because it's so artist friendly. And for any musicians or artists listening to this interview, um, ownership of your material and being tied to bad deals where people are um, not really following through on promises that they've made you when you sign a record deal. That our industry is ripe for that. So the first thing they wanted to tell me out of the gate was, when we do this release with you, Current, you own the master. We're not asking for 8-year distribution rights. We're not asking for a big contract for you to sign. We're going to have a 50-50 artist split with you after we recoup the cost to make the record, which is a very, very fair business deal. But what I liked about it was the digital component, as you said, Deke. When you do the pre-order, you're waiting for the vinyl to get to you, and we go, "Thank you, Deke, for ordering it. We're going to give this to you right away." And
Yeah.
there was a lot of thought that went into that. What could I possibly dig out of the archives that would keep people interested? And something as simple as those demos that I spoke to you about. So we put demo versions in the digital one, and there's like I think Let Go was in there, and maybe Teenage Heartthrob and Location. So I made a point of saying I don't ever want to put those up on DSPs. You're not going to find those tracks on Amazon, Apple. Those are for the diehard folks that spent the extra money on it. You guys have it, you own it. It's not going to go missing off your computer when you end your Apple subscription or your Amazon thing. And our motto is the box stays open. So because you bought it, you know that I subsequently started sending other stuff along. I said, thanks here's a video. And the next thing that I want to tell you, and you're the first guy that I'm going to tell you this, is 100% within, I'm hoping, the next month, Looking for Love will be released officially. But I'm going to send it to you, Deke, first, and anybody that bought the record on the Sing Marketplace. They are going to get that single before anybody gets it, probably a week before. Then we'll go up on Amazon, Apple, and have it there. And then the full record itself the remix will also be available on all the DSPs. The other thing I'm hoping, and I've seen early sort of drafts with this. I'm working with a very close friend of mine, and his son is a very talented video animator, and we're working on a video for Looking for Love. Looking for Love was a song that I wrote that was supposed to be on the No Tattoos record, and it didn't make the cut. It didn't make the cut because it sounded very close to No Tattoos.
Oh,
It
wow.
started off with driving bass, and I was like, two songs kind of sound similar. Anyway, so we've messed with it. Went back in the studio with Glenn Milcham, Simon Brierly, and I brought Sean Kelly in, and we've recorded the full Looking for Love. And I'm very happy with it. But every intention I have will be to keep that box open, maybe dig up some other stuff 6 months from now, go, oh, hey, Deke, and anybody else who bought this thing, I forgot to tell you that I found an old backstage pass from one of these shows. And so it's trying to reward people for the hard-earned money that they spent on it. But that's the whole business model with Sing, is to give digital stuff right away, and while you're waiting for the physical stuff to come along. Now there is a cryptocurrency part of it, where I don't know if you're into that whole thing and the blockchain, but if you ever decided to go down that rabbit hole, Deke, you would find out that you actually have a digital wallet that was built for you. And anybody that's into cryptocurrency, you're going to go in and you're going to go, holy shit, I got a digital wallet filled with Andy Curran stuff, right? So there is a tech part of it. And it wasn't done to be techie. It was done to say, whatever copy you bought, dude, it has its own a unique fingerprint on it. So your version is different from the version that my brother would have bought, and so on and so on, right? So there's a bit of a geeky tech part in it that I don't think any labels are doing. And I've been working with the guys at Sing, and we've been getting a lot of interest in people going, we like what you're doing over there. So full transparency, the Mood Swing record with Harry Hess, with Harem Scarum, and the Whiskey and the Devil AC 30th record were sort of like, let's test the waters and see if we can build from it. And you'll see that Sing has just released Teenage Head, just released 5440, and they're all very much the same. If you're a Teenage Head fan, man, go check out Sing Marketplace. There's some super cool goodies on there that you're not going to get if you were just going to go and buy it in the store. But it was also important that I let people know that if you don't want to pay $89 or whatever it was, you can go to your local record store and you can buy just the standalone vinyl, right? So that was always our plan, to super serve the diehard fans that were super supportive and give them a ton of goodies out of the gate. And then if you're just a casual guy going into your record store and you see the Whiskey and the Devil, then God bless you, pick it up, dude. But you're not going to get all the stuff that Deke got.
Nope, I ain't sharing it. And that's really cool. Like I said, I really enjoyed. I mean, I'm not a studio guy, but I just enjoyed going through the deep dive of like I said, the track listing sheets. I mean, I even noticed on another track listing sheet dated June 2nd, 1989. You're gonna think I'm nuts, but you have it listed under Soho 69.
Yes.
It was kind of interesting because Soho 69 was rebranded by you in '93 for the classic Scatterbrain album. So
yeah. Well, you're a good detective, and I'll talk to you about Soho 69 and Kim Mitchell, because if you spent the time to go look at those early track sheets and go, hey, something's not the same here, you would have seen Kim Mitchell's name on it. Kim Mitchell was the original producer on my debut record, and I wanted to go back there because I had such a great time making the first Coney Hatch record with him. And I thought, hey, there's a formula here. There's a dynamic. There's a ton of respect. I still think I owe everything to Kim Mitchell. I wouldn't even be sitting here today talking to you about any of this stuff if Kim hadn't stepped up and championed Coney Hatch. So I thought, wouldn't it be great to go back in the studio with my old buddy Kim Mitchell? So we went into Metalworks and we started doing bed tracks there, and Kim is always searching for the secret sauce and the mojo. And I remember him saying, "Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know if these tracks are sounding any good or not. Like maybe we should go out to Quest in Oshawa. That's where we did the first Coney Hatch record." So he said, yeah, let's nothing against Metalworks, let's go over there. And I always viewed that part of Kim as an artist. He's always like trying to go to, have I captured the best stuff? Maybe I have, maybe I haven't. So we ended up going all the way back out to Oshawa. And so if you think about this sequentially, we recorded all of the drums with Glenn Milcham together with Kim at Metalworks. And then we went out to Oshawa to finish off the rest of the record. I think Kim was going through a difficult time personally. I think, there was some stuff with Kim in between albums. There's some family stuff going on. I think it might have been getting divorced, and I could see Kim kind of dialing out. And we had a conversation where Kim openly said to me, Andy, I might not be the best guy to finish the record with you. And so that left me with like, oh my God, what am I going to do? Is my buddy, so this is it. I don't know if I've got him in anymore. And it was very much just sort of like a conversation. So I called Tom Barry and I said, Tom, I'd like to take a shot at producing this record. And that took him completely off guard. I had never produced a record on my own. And he goes, I'll tell you what, Curran, I'll let you try 2 tracks and finish them. And if they turn out good, I'll give you the car keys to finish off the rest of the track. Because I just wasn't feeling that Kim was 100% there, mind, physically. And I think if Kim was on the show with us right now, you would agree. Yeah, Curran, I wasn't fully engaged on that. And there was other stuff going on. And I think he had his own music. And I just don't think he had the time or the bandwidth to fully commit, even though he said, yes, I will produce your record. So I finished off a couple songs, gave it to Tom, and he goes, dude, this is great. So I have to maybe thank Kim again by going, Kim, by you bowing out of my record and stepping away and going, I don't know if I can finish it, it actually gave me the the opportunity to actually get into production. I always loved working in studios. I was always super interested and intrigued. How do you get that sound? What's that piece of gear do? And so finally I got a chance to go, okay, dude, you're the producer, you're calling the shots. And I never looked back from that point, dude. That was the beginning, the first record that I ever had my hands in on production with Bill Petrie. And maybe I owe Kim a thank you for that. But the Soho 69 reference is quite interesting because when we finished the record, Tom Berry, who was my manager and at Alert Records at that time, the A&R guy said, what do you want to call the record? I said, I want to call it Soho 69. He said, absolutely not. I said, well, what do you want to call it? He said, I want to call it Andy Curran. And I said, absolutely not. I'm not interested in putting my mug on a cover. And he goes,
Guess what?
And I said, I'm a band guy. I'm a band guy. I came from a band. I don't want to call it Andy Curran. I want to call it Soho 69. He goes, guess what? Not going to happen. I'm in charge of the record company. I pay the bills. I'm calling the shots. It's called Andy Curran. Your face is going to be on it. No Soho 69. I was like, oh, I was so mad. So anyway, the first thing I did was when I went back out on the road, I said, oh, my band's called Andy Curran and Soho 69. And then subsequently with Scatterbrain, I just took away the Andy and finally got my way on Scatterbrain. But that was originally what I wanted to call the band back in the day.
Well, there we go. That's
the juice. There's the juice.
I was going, so 69, Kim Mitchell. Okay, nope. Write them down.
And it's funny you said that, D, because you saw them on there, and I was like, oh shit, there's a bunch of stuff here. People are going to go, what the hell is this? These are all wrong. There's Kim Mitchell's the producer. The band's called So. He said, screw it, just leave it on. Let people start wondering what the heck was going on.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, I knew your connection with Kim Mitchell because after listening to this on vinyl now, Andy, for the first time on vinyl, I can still hear that you retained a bit of that rawness that you did, like you had on the debut Coney album you did with Kim. Like this, No Tattoos isn't a polished record by any stretch of the imagination. There's still still rawness left to it. So I think that's where Kim's influence on you came through. Is he said, no, I'm not going to make a friction sounding album. I'm making a little more rough and tumble album. And it only took me 33 years to realize that.
Yeah, well, good on you, buddy. It's just a late bloomer, I guess. But no, listen, I always wanted. Listen, if I was to say anything negative about the last couple records with working with Max Webster, the Coney Hatch sound really started to get too polished for me. It started to get away with how I envisioned the band from the debut record, and I did my best on Coney Hatch 4 to bring it back to the way we sound live, and I think it's indicative of the live sound. And when I told Tom Berry that I wanted to remix this record, the No Tattoos record, he said, why would you do that? And I said, well, there's a stamp of the 90s, and if you listen to it, and maybe a Bon Jovi record would be a good indicator of it, or Billy Squier or something like that. There's a lot of reverb on the drums. There's a lot of processed vocals. There's a lot of whoa, gang vocals and stuff like that. So really, all I did was I sort of trimmed down the extra processing. I took away a lot of the reverb. I had a lot of conversations with Vic Florencia about backing off the reverb on the drum kit, toning down all the big gang vocals, making it sound a little smaller and a little bit more punch and bite in terms of the sonics of it. And when I had a conversation with Steve Harris from Iron Maiden, who he wrote a quote about the record that is one of his favorite records in there. I forget what does it say, Zeke? On there, or do you...
I've been listening to this album for 30 years, and it still sounds great. And he backs up with what he says, because if you go on YouTube, folks, after we're done talking, Google British Lion, Nickels and Dimes, his band British Lion with Steve Harris in it. covered it.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's,
So yeah, I know, right? You're absolutely right. And Steve is, which is quite a huge compliment. I mean, the guy's one
yeah,
of the best bass players in the world, and telling me that this record's one of his favorite records. But when I told him I was remixing it, he goes, "I hope you didn't fuck it up, mate."
yeah.
And I was like, "Uh-oh, what have I done here?" Right? But really, I just toned down some of the processing, which I would call 90s processing, and I tried to make it sound a little bit more in your face and a little less produced and a little bit more raw. I'm still very happy with the results, and I don't miss the what I took away from it with Vic Florenzi. I think it still packs a pretty good wallop.
Oh, for sure. And so there, we'll talk a little bit about the reissue here because it's got some really cool packaging. So you guys need to hit up Sing Market and get basically the full meal deal here. But
Yeah, what I
look,
was gonna bring this out here because you'd mentioned it right about being a pack rat. So some of the stuff on these liner notes, dude, like, there's a shot of Bruce Dickinson playing with us at Rock and Roll Heaven. Up at the top there, there's the very first lineup with Harry and Jack. And okay, so there's Harry, there's Jack, there's Ray. What else? There's Alex Haas who mixed the record there. Simon and I. Track sheets, as you said, cassettes. Like, there's just some stuff that I hoarded here. There's Dave. There's a shot of me and Dave Murray on stage together.
that's right.
So it's just a collection of stuff that over the years I've hung on to, and I thought it would be just some good eye candy in there,
And yeah, look at this. I ended up with two of them.
How the heck did you get two?
I don't know. Two is included, so I wasn't going to say anything, but I just outed myself.
I got to send a note to the guys at Sing going, "What are you doing double packing the album?" But
But we have to talk about this.
the red vinyl. Yeah, buddy. It just, I don't know, it screamed devil to me. Like when you have that front cover with all that red and black. And it was a conscious decision to keep the front cover very stark and black and red. And my buddy Bill Baker was totally up for me, using it for the front album cover. And then I worked with my friends over at the Laundry Design, a guy by the name of Paul McGrath, and just a super, super talented graphic engineer, a graphic artist. And if you look up the Laundry Design, they put all of the packaging together. So I had a blast putting it together. I think I wish I was a graphic artist in another life, and I love the artwork and stuff like that. So it was just me repurposing the Whiskey and the Devil t-shirt again. And my next door neighbors got two young boys who are in their, one's in grade 5 and 6, and they're walking around with a Whiskey and the Devil t-shirt, and they're going to school in it. And I'm like, that's not that cool for these kids? And they're like, no, all of their friends love it. And I'm like, what am I promoting here? The kid's like in grade 7 with a Whiskey and the Devil t-shirt on, right?
You're grooming them for their teenage years.
I think so. But I had a blast putting it together. Oh, and then yeah, the big hair shot. True story with that, Deke. That dude in the background was legitimately looking for coins on the beach.
Nickels and dimes.
Yeah, so my buddy was like, Andy, move over there. And so we got him in there. But that bass is an 8-string bass guitar in there too, and I still have that to this day. Joe Lato made it for me, and I absolutely love the sound of that. But yeah, that's quite a lid, quite a lot of rock hair, dude.
But that's the best, that guy was actually not even originally part of your shot.
Did not stay. That was not staged. We were just on the, and that was supposed to be a promotional shot for Lato guitars. So I just happened to have it hanging around. And as you can see, from my physique, I'm working out at the Pee Wee Herman gym. You could see that I'm doing the crunches on the abs and then the gun show. Yeah, that's the Pee Wee Herman gym.
You could re-release Nickels and Dimes and use that as the promo poster.
There you go. Not a bad idea, buddy. Not a bad idea.
The dude's looking for a fistful of dollars. Nickels and dimes, right?
Yeah. That's all he was going to come out of. But no, like I said, yeah, the sold out. Again, one of the funny things, we had Polymer Records on there, which is the Spinal Taps label. If you look on the bottom,
That's awesome.
Yeah. And
So,
then, and very much that was me again going to the record company. Guess what? I'm calling the band Soho 69. You'll notice that it's got the Soho 69 logo on the
yep.
top. So I never gave up wanting to call this project after the band. Never really felt like it was an ego stroke to put my name out there and call it under my name. So I always tried to champion a band because it was always about the combination of the guys and girls that played on the music that we were creating.
Yeah, and there's like a lot more knickknacks in here. You get a whiskey and the devil sticker.
Yeah, yeah. Everybody needs a sticker.
Everybody needs a sticker, and maybe you can give us a little bit of a backstory on this 1% freedom, 99% parole benefit for Rick Sauvé.
Okay, so anybody that's watching this, look up the one percenters, and there's a big story about bikers that they really consider themselves 1% of the community out there. They're their own little group of people, right? And with the nature of Coney Hatch's music, and same with the No Tattoos record, like we attracted a lot of bikers to our shows all the time, and we'd make friends with them because better that you're friends with them than enemies. You do not want to be on the bad side of a biker gang. So long story short, with Coney Hatch, we played a couple. I remember we played a big biker convention in Quebec for the Rolling Eagles. So there's always this connection with Coney Hatch and myself with bikers. And my brother Mike has a lot of friends in low places, and so I used to meet all these characters all the time, right? So I get a call out of the blue. I'm freshly married, um, young daughter, and this is going back, 1992. And a buddy of mine calls me and says, Satan's Choice, or hell, I think it was Satan's Choice. Satan's Choice want to hire you for a private concert that they're doing. And I said, thank you, buddy. Appreciate the offer. Not interested. And just said, I'm brand new dad. Want to just kind of chill. I'm not interested in playing at a biker bash, right?
Mhm.
And so he said, okay, I'll let them know. And then he came back and he said, they're not taking no for an answer. I said, dude, I don't know what you don't get about me saying no. He's like, no, you don't understand now. Like, I can't go back, and they're going to be offended if you don't do this. And he goes, you want my advice? I go, yeah. He goes, why don't you name a big price tag and they'll just go away. Scare them away with the price tag. So I can't remember, Deke, what the actual number was, but I probably added $10,000 on top of it and said, okay, go ahead, tell them it's going to be this, right? So I took our whatever our normal price was back then, and I added 10 grand on it. The guy calls me back 5 minutes later, goes, done. I'm like, oh my God.
Oh,
So now I'm fearing for my life, going, what have I got myself into? And the closer we get to the show, I find out that this guy, Rick Sauvé, has been in jail in the Kingston Pen, accused of some kind of horrific crime. And you could probably even look up Rick Sauvé. And he was going to be released because I think he might have been wrongfully charged, if I recall. And my memory's not what it used to be, but I think he was wrongly charged for a crime. And not only were we playing to Satan's Choice, but Hell's Angels were going to be there. There was going to be a bunch of bikers from another club in Quebec and some guys coming up from the US, and all of these bike gangs were going to be in one place. And I'm thinking, oh my God, this is a recipe for disaster. This is like Bluto's Animal House. Like I'm honestly telling you, Deke, I was so afraid. And I kept calling my friend going, dude, I can't believe you got me into this. Not only are we playing for one bike gang, it's going to be like 10 bike gangs now. And he said, don't worry about it. These guys are all there to be supportive of Rick Sauvé, and this is all about a celebration of one of their brothers getting out of jail. So fast forward to the day of, and I'm got butterflies in my stomach, and um, I am told that everything would be cool, and so we're up on stage, and we finish the show, and they come back. One of the members from the bike gang comes back and hands me a brown paper bag. I open it up and it's filled with cash. I've never been paid in a brown paper bag with cash. I'm like, oh my God. Now I'm fearing for my life. Like, how am I going to get out of here? And I'm looking for a bag to stash it in. And, because I'm walking around with unmarked bills. And they say, oh, by the way, you have to drop by the clubhouse. The president wants to see you and wants to talk to you guys afterwards. And I'm like, oh man, are you serious? This ordeal's still not over? And he said, and I'm going to tell you right now, you cannot say no. They will not take no for an answer. You are coming. You are going to pay your respects. You're going to go to the clubhouse. You're going to go in. You're going to have a drink. You're going to shake the guy's hand, and then you're going to get the hell out of there. And that's exactly what we did. All four of us went in there with our tails in between our legs, went over to the guy and said, thank you so much. We had a blast. We had a great time. And we were also told, when you get in there, do not look at any women. Don't even engage. These women are the dates of the bikers. Don't think that you're going to be cutting anybody's grass. You go in there and you behave. Deke, I think we were in and out of there in 15 minutes, and I never drove home as fast as I did that night and got out with my life. But
wow,
I did a little bit of research on that, and this Rick Sauvé guy and the one percenters. It was a true story, and I think he was wrongfully charged. So if Rick or anybody from any of the motorcycle guys are even watching this or their friends, we had a blast doing it. I remember that we all dressed in black. I wore leather that night. I thought, when in Rome, dress as the Romans do. We played a big, long version of Born to Be Wild. I thought, okay, here's perfect. We did a couple, we really catered our show to be shit kicking that night, and we had a great time.
Shit, man, that's a fantastic story. I mean, God, there's gold in those hills with that.
There's one other quick side story, and I can't remember the name of this performer, and he was a rap guy, and he had a song called Informer. Snow. So just as we're about to go on stage, I am told by one of the guys in Bike Gang, oh, by the way, Snow's going to come up and play with you. And I'm like, what? What are you talking about? How is that a thing? And they were like, well, you can play Informer. And I'm like, no, we can't, dude. I don't know Informer. And you should have told me to learn that 3 weeks ago. But at one point they wanted Snow to get up and play with us. I don't think it ever happened. That was a little side plot, but he was there that night.
That's so. Yeah. That's funny. So, and speaking of no tattoos.
See, now you can just make your own tattoos, and you'll never have to worry about your parents. Just stick it on there.
My mama never raised no fool. And you also have the Soho 69 and the regular Curran. So you're getting the both tattoos.
And of course, mom. You got to have a mom tattoo, right?
Of course.
We had a little bit of fun, and I think my favorite part, of course, was the Captain Curran cereal box. I mean, like, who doesn't? Yeah. So there's a very, very talented graphic artist in California. His name is David Calcano, and he has a company called Fan Tunes. They've done a lot of animation for Rush. They've worked with Frank Zappa. They worked with Poison. Tom Kiefer. They've done some amazing stuff. So I called him and I said, David, would you be interested in maybe doing a cereal box for me like you did with the guys in Rush? And he's a great guy, and he's kind of, he's, when you're talking to him, he kind of talks a little bit like one of the guys from Cheech and Chong. And he goes, oh man, that's a cool idea. Like, what's your favorite cereal? And I go, duh, Captain Crunch. He goes, oh, I'm going to do Captain Curran. So he came up with that. And then all the stupid ingredients in there, that's all the guys from Fan Tunes coming up with, hot pieces of teeth from, I don't know what they got in there. They had a lot of fun. I just gave them full reign to put on whatever the hell you want.
Well, it's classic that right on the front of the box it says, now with whiskey flavored cones and moonbeam marshmallows, free license to love inside.
Yeah.
Nutrition facts: the calories are 1,990, which is the year 1990.
Right.
The daily percentage value of total rock is 12%. Saturated Curran is 12%.
Right.
Potassium is 8%. Glenium is 8%. I'm probably pronouncing this wrong. Simeon, I guess these are your band nicknames.
That's like Simon and Milcham. Yep.
8%. Vitamin Andy is 20% because you're the boss. So you got
extra.
You gotta
A
get a
little
little bit
extra.
extra. Nickel grease, 7%. Melted dime, 5%. Devil horn soup, 4%. Maple syrup, 15%. Hockey particles, 9%. Broken teeth powder, 11%. Hair gel, 44%, folks. We're talking 1990, baby.
Let
Um,
me,
Hairspray,
let me,
9%.
yeah. Oh yeah, dude. I think I mentioned this to you. I think we were the only band that I can, like, if somebody can come out there and tell me another band that had an endorsement with a hairspray company. We had an endorsement with Joico. They used to come to our gigs and give us free gel and hairspray.
That's
Step up. If anybody could challenge me on getting an endorsement for free hair product, we had so much hair on stage, man. That's a good claim to fame. I should have had some hairspray in the package for sure.
Oh man, this is awesome. I can't believe all this great stuff I'm getting out of you tonight, man. Hell's Angels to hairspray. I mean, holy moly.
Can't make this stuff up, Deke.
So yeah, so everybody, you have to definitely hit up Sing Market, and as you know, Andy said, it's going to slowly, some of it's going to slowly trickle onto the Apples and the Spotify's, and you can buy physical copies in the store. But if you want the full package, go to Sing Market, and basically with Sing Market is you're supporting the artists directly, and it's really cool to see when I open it up, it has creator Andy Curran and it has
Yep.
owner me.
Yep.
And that's basically everything you buy as a music fan. You really own it.
Yep.
You're the creator. I'm the owner.
Deke, I don't know any other label that is giving you that direct connection right with
Yes.
the artist. There's nobody in between. And I got to thank you for spending your hard-earned money on it, and anybody else that's watching this that spent their money on it, because it's, when it wasn't an inexpensive thing to put together. So when we marked it up to whatever it was, 80, 85 or 89 bucks, that's a tough ask. And there was a lot of people that wrote, well, I just would like the standalone vinyl. So we waited for a little while, but now if you go into your record store and they don't have it, all you have to say is it's distributed by Isotope Music, and Isotope is a big distributor in Canada, in even in Europe, around the world. If you say, if you don't have it, get it through Isotope Music, and your store can order it in. But it really means a lot to me that people went out of their way to spend some premium cash on this, and it was a labor of love, and we had a great time putting it together.
As I've had a great time listening to it and digging through all the digital stuff. It's the best of both worlds, digital and physical. I mean, let's face it, folks. If Andy would have included everything that's on the digital side in a physical, this box would have been like $400 easy. So it's basically,
There's a lot of goodies in there, and I would agree with you. Like that's part of the challenge too, is that there's so much stuff to actually give that to a music fan. Physically, it's going to weigh 100 pounds. So we were like, hey, we can deliver this digitally directly to Deke and anybody else that bought it. So that was a big part of the incentive for me to know that we could actually keep that box open and keep thanking people and putting stuff in there. So, if you bought that record, and I'm telling this to you because I know you did, stay tuned. You're going to get Looking for Love within the next, if I have any say in it, probably 2 to 3 weeks, and then hopefully the secret performance video that goes along with it, which I can't tell you any. I can't spoil you on that one because it's not what you think it's going to be. Let me just tell you that.
OnlyFans.
No, not next rated. Yeah, no. Andy OnlyFans, right? Yeah, yeah. Let me just give you a nip shot. No, I'm only kidding.
Yeah, that's it. So before I let you loose, Andy, at the start of the show, I said I came up with my top 12 Andy.
Oh yeah, hit me with it, baby.
Now, at first I said my all-time favorite. No, you know what? Anything with a list, it can flip-flop, right? A list. So this is what I've been sitting on for about the last month, or these 12 tracks, and I'm gonna post them, and then everybody can go find it because a lot of this stuff is like on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, and some of them you're gonna have to just buy the damn thing off of Sing Market. So here we go. So the
Okay.
twist, Andy, is there's no Andy Hatch songs. None. Because somebody will probably say, hey, dude didn't say monkey bars. What's wrong with him? No, we're looking at everything after Coney. So
Yeah,
here we go.
I get it. Okay.
Okay, so number one, last band on earth.
Nice.
Number two would be Nickels and Dimes, but the live version from Sing Market, because whoever nails that backing vocal on Nickels and Dimes with you, is doing the chorus with you, so good.
Michael Perkowski. That's Mr. Michael Perkowski on that.
Wow. Like your
Yep.
voices are just so good. And the slide guitar in it, probably from Simon.
That's also Michael. That's also Michael playing slide. Yeah.
So kudos. It's so good. I listen to that one all the time.
Thank you.
Come on.
Nice.
Which should have been a single. Just saying. Walk the Other Way. I really like that one.
Right. Yeah, it was one of the outtakes. Okay, cool.
Yeah, and a song that I think you should look at re-releasing as one of these video with the lyrics is Taco Bel Air. I think it's one of your best written tunes, man. I just love it. I love just the whole vibe of it. It's so un-Andy like, yet it's so cool. So
yeah, thank you for saying that. I had fun writing the lyrics of that one, the Taco Bel Air. Yeah.
Yeah, and into Caramel, we go with Halo.
Ooh, okay.
And now got a 3-pack from the Scatterbrain album. That would be Goodbye So Long. I always love that song.
Nice heavy track. Yep.
King of Cool, because you're not from Seattle, but you're big in Japan. I love that song, man.
Inspired by Mr. Kurt Cobain, but anyway, yep.
Yeah, I picked up on that because halfway through the song you go, never mind.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, this is definitely about Mr. Cobain. Burn the House Down.
Okay, nice.
And a song where you're angry, which is No Hard Feelings, because you can burn in hell and there's no hard feelings.
That was a bit of an oxymoron. I got no hard feelings, but you can burn in hell, buddy. Yep, there you go.
So, and then I originally went with 2 Envy and None tunes, but then I realized, hey man, that's Maya singing. I originally had Dog's Life and Liar in, so I had to take those 2 out.
Well,
take those 2 out and
honorable mentions. I like
honorable mentions. So I went with Summertime from Caramel.
Oh,
I love
very
that.
good.
I love that 1, 2, 3. That's that kick into the tune, and you guys are just off to the races. So good.
Drinking water from a hose, buddy.
That's right.
Water from a hose.
Drinking water from the hose, and basically the solo song that started it all, which is the number 12 track, would be No Tattoos. But with every greatest hit set, you always get a bonus track.
Yep.
So my 13th track, which is the bonus, is Let It Go, but the demo version, because Andy, when you start off that song with the little acoustic part and it goes in that chunky Metallica heavy crunchy rhythm guitar, why'd you take that out? It's so good.
Yeah, boom, 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 boom. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. This is a good question. I think that might have been a Bill Petrie going, no, we don't need that in there. But well, good. That's what a list there, dude. You covered. I like the fact that you put some MD songs in there, because certainly Dog's Life and Liar, I had my hands in a lot of those tracks, but you're bringing out stuff from the Caramel record, which is pretty cool too. And Summertime was kind of like my nod to King's X. I loved King's X, and I thought I was wearing my influences on my sleeve at that one. But that's quite a top 12, 13 list there, buddy. And thank you for sharing that. That's a good one.
Yeah, no worries. And everybody, you can find these songs. Like you can go on Leisureworld and listen to Taco Bel Air, and Caramel's on Spotify or on Apple. Sorry, I use Apple. I know Caramel, Soho 69, and Leisureworld are all up on Apple. So I'm sure they're up on Spotify.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, check out those songs, and you get a real good. You can see where Andy's just kept it going. So yeah. So sorry, folks. No Andy Hatch songs. So We already know. We already know
You're
where that.
dividing. You're dividing and conquer. The hatch is over here.
Yeah, you have to spread, as they say, spread the love. So
We can do another hatch call one of these days when we got some stuff coming up at the end of the year. I mentioned to you that it looks like we're going to be playing a show in the UK and in France and in Buffalo. I just heard that we might have a Buffalo show coming up. So as far as I know, I think the only one that might be announced is the UK show in September or October, but I think it might be up on coneyhatch.com, but my focus right now, buddy, is finishing off this Envy of None record, and that's what I'm going to dig into for the next sort of month and a half to try to make sure we can get that thing out for the end of the year.
So Coney ever hopefully makes it back to Thunder Bay, I hope you guys. Well, I hope you'll play Shake It. I got to hear Shake It live.
I'll make you a promise. If we come up to T-Bay, we will play Shake It. Perfect. Ketchum has to bring his cowbell though, because it's one of the few songs with cowbell. More cowbell, baby.
Well, Andy, thanks so much for spending this evening with me and going through basically a forensics music deep dive into your fantastic Whiskey and the Devil. You can get Andy's fantastic merch, as you can see on the bottom ticker, andycurranmusic.com. Hit him up. You're supporting a local boy, man. So Andy, as always, it's a pleasure. Please keep in touch. Feel free to come back anytime. Love talking music with you, buddy.
Absolutely, dude. Thank you. I had a blast. I love the name. The new branded, the Distortion Den, is freaking awesome. And as usual, thank you for all your support and letting folks know what I'm up to. And hopefully I'll see you soon. If it's not in T-Bay, maybe we'll get together for a drink when you come down to see Maiden later on this year.
Sounds good. And I'm going to hold you to that. Thanks,